In our special report, Making a Montana Murderer, we meet a man who spent nearly 2 decades in prison for murdering his best friend, a cold-blooded crime he insists he didn't commit. MTN's Sarah Stinson sat down with him for an exclusive interview to hear about his long journey to exoneration. Sarah joins us live in the newsroom with more. Sarah?
Richard Ragas lost all hope of being freed from prison until an organization that fights injustice for prisoners who've been wrongly convicted came to his rescue.
I figured, take a day or two, they'll figure out, it wasn't me, and I can go back and do what I was doing. It never happened.
As the gate to the Montana State Prison closed, Richard Ragas walked in and left his freedom behind.
They came back guilty, and it was a shock. Yeah.
Nearly 19 years ago, he was sentenced to life in prison for murdering his childhood best friend, Joe Tash. When feelings of hopelessness overwhelmed him, his faith lifted him back up.
Faith and hope and being on Team Jesus, knowing I was innocent. And
that faith and hope is what gave him the drive to never give up his pursuit of freedom, despite daunting challenges.
And I was at the point where if I didn't have a lot of money or a team, I was probably going to die in prison.
Until he learned about the Montana Innocence Project in 2009. Ragas wrote to the organization insisting that he is innocent, but they receive about 2 to 3 letters a week from prisoners all over Montana. The executive director says the nonprofit spends countless hours asking the hard questions to investigate whether an inmate is innocent or not.
What is the scoop? Was something missed here? Was there behavior that was inappropriate by the prosecutor's office, by law enforcement, and was someone's rights violated?
I think they investigated for at least 2 years before they even actually committed to taking the case, and so they've been on it for about 6 years now.
This December, the prison cell unlocked for Ragas. The Innocence Project found evidence that showed he could not have been at the scene of the murder.
There was evidence that should have been turned over to the defense at the time of the trial, and wasn't.
Today, without the Innocence Project help, I'd still be in Deer Lodge.
Our job is not to just get people out of jail. It's to get those who are innocent out of jail. Over the last 18 years of your life, what would you have missed? What opportunities would you have lost out on if you didn't have those?
I used my first cell phone last month, my first computer last month. So I'm 20 years behind the times.
Almost 2 decades later, and this nightmare still isn't over. Sanders County has appealed Ragas' release. Until he is free once and for all, it's a waiting game for Richard Ragas.
Take it step by step and, go through the procedures and then get my life back together.
Board members tell me freeing Ragas was a long process, but they're anxious to free more innocent prisoners in Montana. For more information on the nonprofit, you can head to the link on our website.